Afternoon, friends. Russell here. Just wanted to start this video by wishing everybody a happy new year. Normally don't shoot auto repair videos at the house, but my own Jeep is broke. Earlier last week, I had to have I had to tow my Jeep to my own shop to work on it because it was broke. And in the process of doing all the diagnostics for a no start issue, we had a crank but no start. On the process of doing all the diagnostics and trying different parts on that, we ended up burning up a starter. So don't feel like towing it to the shop for something that I can do here at the house. So today we're going to change the starter on the Jeep XJ, and in a follow-up video I'll talk through the diagnostics we did and the solution for our crank but no start issue that we had. So without further ado, I'm going to try and hold the camera out, and so you can see the starter in an XJ is very hard to see. Definitely can't see it from the top, and then from the bottom it's very difficult. So probably a little bit of a shorter video. In a nutshell, the starter on an XJ is mounted on the passenger side or right hand side of the vehicle as you're sitting in it, up underneath the motor. It mounts in. This is the transmission plate. It mounts in like this. So you have a single bolt that comes from the back of the transmission, a bolt that goes through the front of the starter, and then the only other two bolts you have to deal with is the nut for the starter solenoid and the nut for power. So if I can get the camera under there while we're doing it, great. If not, this is how it goes in. It's simple enough, but we're going to try it out. And then really what we've got going on is the starter will spin up, but it won't stay engaged. So the starter gear engages initially for a second and then backs off, so then you just hear the motor free spin. That's why we're going to replace it. So without further ado, we'll get started. Okay. Just leave it run. I'm closing that. Let's get some lighting going here from the top.
You want to go lay from the front of the engine, front of the car, or from the passenger side?
No, from the passenger side is how you're going to have to do it. And you're going to do this. It's not that hard.
Is it just you're too fat?
Yeah, I'm too fat, yes. That and anyway. So take a look under there and start figuring out your sizes. You might need your headlamp. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay, so that I pointed at is oil filter. The starter is beneath and behind it. So this starter removal has to come from the bottom. And of course, the first thing we're going to do, because it's major electrical work on a car, is disconnect our battery ground. So while James is disconnecting the battery ground, I'm going to crawl up underneath the bottom and try and show you the starter. Alright, that's the starter. And you can see how the bolts work. You get a bolt right there. So you have that bolt there, and that bolt there, and it'll come out. It'll come out the bottom, and we'll swap it out. It's kind of hard to get a camera down in here to see what's going on. The starter removal. And right now we're taking out the mount bolts. We've already disconnected the electrical. It's just kind of hard to get up in here with it, not on a lift. But both mount bolts are 14 millimeter. The solenoid electrical nut is an 8 millimeter. The main power wire is a 13 millimeter. And then both upper and lower mount bolts are 14 millimeters. So that's what we're removing right now, and then we'll pull this starter out. And it's impossible to see it from the top side, guys. But this is something you can do in your garage at the house. You can change the starter on the side of the road. I've actually changed this starter before, about 6 years ago, in a parking lot at a restaurant. So it sucks, but it can be done.
Yeah, it's a 50.
Okay. All right, so that answers that. One bolt's a 14 millimeter and one's a 15 millimeter. Thank you, Jeep. Starter's free. Bolt is out. All right. So once it's completely disconnected, it'll rest on your transmission lines if you have an automatic transmission. And you just have to kind of work it out and down, and the starter comes out. You don't have that. Cool. So let's talk about this old starter real quick. What it would do is when the starter spins up, this gear is supposed to slide out and engage and stay there until you release the starter. What was happening to us is it would slide out and start and then pop back in. So the starter was not staying engaged. So this is now a core. Short bolt goes in this end, long bolt comes in that end.
The length difference?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't put them in wrong.
Don't put them in wrong. So when you put the starter in, make sure on a Jeep, the long bolt's going to come through the starter and into the bell housing. The short bolt will come through the bell housing and into the starter. Get that off. You got all the wrenches you need down there. All right, so we've got the new starter installed. Batteries reconnected. We're going to fire it up here real quick. Before I do that, I just wanted to talk. Easy enough job to do. You can do it on any flat ground, garage, driveway, parking lot, whatever. It's just a bear to get it in and out. It's tight space up in there. Some things to keep key on when you're putting the starter in. Like I said, the short bolt goes into the starter from the back of the bell housing. The long bolt goes through the starter into the bell housing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Make sure everything's good and tight. And then, of course, getting the starter up past hydraulic lines or whatever. It's just kind of tight up in there. We can't get the camera under there. This is the same procedure, whether it's an XJ, YJ, a TJ. The CJs use a different starter, and we can go over that at a later date. But I'm going to fire it up now real quick, and we'll see if it worked. All right, problem solved. Starter's replaced, fires up fine. It's good to go. If you like this content, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon for future notifications. And as always, more to follow.